Okay.
Right.
So we're all set, Brian?
Hello, and welcome to today's NHBSR webinar on increasing your energy efficiency and your bottom line. And for a few introductory words, I'll turn it over to Michelle Veazey, the Executive Director of the NHBSR.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to our February webinar on New Hampshire Energy Programs, Increase Your Energy Efficiency and Your Bottom Line. I'm Michelle Veazey, the Executive Director of NHBSR. Brian, can you advance?
Yeah, I'm having trouble advancing, actually. Slides are not advancing, just
If you want to send it over to me.
Yeah, I'm trying to even escape out of it to get back to the, let's try to restart the slide. It's not. No, I can't even get out of the screen that I'm showing right now.
Okay, do you just want to shift the presentation over to me?
Sure. Okay.
Okay, can everybody see the picture of me now?
Yes.
All right, very good. Sorry for the technical problems there, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Fairpoint Communication for their sponsorship of this webinar series. Their ongoing support is valuable to both NHBSR and our members in providing educational opportunities for busy professionals. NHBSR is a not-for-profit statewide membership organization that fosters socially and environmentally responsible businesses in New Hampshire through educational, networking, and marketing opportunities for our members. Educational opportunities include monthly webinars such as today's, featuring a variety of sustainability topics. We also have go-on tours, which allow us to share members' best practices within their workplaces, and also include networking, of course. Our spring conference, which is a day-long event, this year on May 14th in Portsmouth at the Sheraton Harborside. The conference is filled with networking and informative sessions on sustainability and CSR. And our newest offering, a partnership with UNH, is the Institute in Corporate Sustainability. This is a 3-day boot camp, if you will, for professionals interested in deepening their understanding of corporate sustainability, followed by self-defined projects to encourage further sustainability within each attendee's workplace. This year, we're also expanding our member social events. So with that, I'll encourage you to check our website for more information on opportunities, and you can find the most recent upcoming dates and information on our website or by contacting me directly. I'd like to introduce you to Brian Sheehan, President of Symbiosis Sustainability Consulting, and today's webinar. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you. And to go through a little bit of the agenda and some logistical items for the session today. We'll have about a 35-minute presentation from our two speakers, who we'll introduce to you in a moment. Then we'll leave some time there for questions and answers and any further discussion that happens. And at the moment, all of the webinar attendees, those listening to the presentation, your voices are muted right now, and you can use the control panel that you see on the right side of your webinar dashboard to enter questions into the chat area or into the questions area, and I will monitor that throughout the session And if the question is one that can be best addressed right at the moment in context of what the presenter is speaking about, to give further clarification that other audience members might appreciate as well, I will interject that at that point. Or if it's something that can be held till the end as a more general question, we'll touch on that then. So please enter your questions throughout the session in that chat or questions area, and I'll be checking that. Also, we can unmute you if needed for follow-up questions or to ask that question verbally or for additional clarification. Finally, we want to let you know as well that the webinar is being recorded, and a recording will be available on the NHBSR website after the session. So with that, we'll introduce our speakers for today. And our first speaker will be Joe Lajewski, who is the program manager for the RMA-NH, that's the Retail Merchants Association of New Hampshire's Energy Efficiency Program. This program is the first of its kind in the nation, which is focused on providing funding for comprehensive energy audits as well as financial assistance for the implementation of the recommendations for energy efficiency. For the past 2 years, Joe has been with the program and has assisted around 100 businesses in the process of investigating and implementing opportunities to reduce operating expenses through energy efficiency. He's a BPI certified building analyst and has a bachelor's degree in financial management. And this training, along with his extensive background in retail management, makes him a great advocate for businesses looking to reduce their overall energy expenses. Our other speaker today will be Tom Rooney, who has 20 years experience in the energy industry, and he's the technical director of TRC's Energy Services Group, overseeing the technical components of TRC's portfolio of energy efficiency programs. Tom's involved in the design and management of statewide energy efficiency programs for the New Hampshire Public Utilities Commission, for the New Jersey Office of Clean Energy, and the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. Tom recently finished his tenure as a charter member of the Standards Technical Committee of the Building Performance Institute, BPI, and is a certified energy manager. So both of our speakers have a great deal of experience in this area and should be able to answer a lot of your questions about some of the energy programs available to you. And with that, we'll turn it over to Joe, who will introduce the first of the programs to you.
Thank you, Brian. We have a diverse group of people attending today, from business owners to contractors to state agencies. And my presentation today is really geared towards showing how our program can help small to mid-sized businesses save money on their energy expenses.
Joe, if I can just ask you to expand your screen, it looks like to go to the full presentation mode, I believe.
There we go.
Terrific.
All right. Our program is Given Power Back, and it's a 3-phase fuel blind program designed to reduce energy costs through increased energy efficiency. The first phase is the initial energy assessment, and that is completely funded through our program, which is a RGGI-funded program. And it involves a site visit to the facility, to the building, to investigate the current operating conditions of the building, and from that initial energy assessment, you'll get a report that outlines what was found and some potential opportunities for improvement. It'll provide you with some estimates on costs to implement the measures, as well as estimates on what those measures should save you on energy. The second phase would be the comprehensive energy audit. So if a business determines that what was found in the initial energy assessment warrants a comprehensive audit, we will fund up to 60% of that comprehensive audit, and that will provide a very detailed analysis of the building, list specific and detailed measures and the methods of approaching those, as well as enable you to receive the third phase, which is the project implementation assistance. Now, with the project implementation assistance, the program will rebate up to 20% of an implemented energy efficiency project, with a rebate cap of $30,000 per owner or entity. So it definitely helps businesses take the leap from audit into implementation. We also work in conjunction with other programs out there, including the utility programs, to maximize leverage of funds. to make projects attainable for businesses. Although the program's goal is to get to projects implementation, there's not a requirement to go from the first phase to the second phase to the third phase. So if a business decides to take part in the initial energy assessment, they're not required to then take part in the comprehensive audit. So it does allow for a risk-free look at the building from the owner. Some of the common difficulties that we've found with small to mid-sized business owners is that they don't have a dedicated energy or facilities manager, and they're very busy running their business's daily operations, but they don't have the time to focus on looking at energy efficiency opportunities. They don't have the expertise in energy efficiency in construction or any of those fields, so it's an area that also tends to be avoided, and there is usually an underestimate of what the potentials are for energy efficiency opportunities. How our program helps alleviate some of these challenges, our program, we are the owner's representative. We're there with the owner's best interests in mind. We're not trying to sell anything. What we're trying to do is make it so that the business can reduce their overall energy expenses, and we're going to walk that business through the process and take a lot of the legwork out of it so that it's not a cumbersome process for the business owner. We educate the business on the potential opportunities and the value of the audit process in developing a plan that is comprehensive, but also methodical, and looks at each building as an individual unit, not just some cookie-cutter recommendations. And we demonstrate through that audit process that there are financially viable options to reduce your energy expenses while reducing the environmental impacts and increasing the comfort level within your building. A couple of our success stories is Barron's Major Brands in Laconia. And one of the quotes from the owner, Mike Barron, is, "Making my 1980s Laconia vintage retail store into a green building was not anything I envisioned even a year ago, but now is a reality and is reaping benefits for my business, my customers, and overall energy security." Not only is Barron's Major Brands in Laconia a more energy efficient building, its comfort level has improved to the point where customers come up and tell me about it. Employees also report on how much more pleasant the store is to work in and the fact that customers want to spend more time there. Though a lot of those things go above and beyond the great financial savings that it has to the business. These are customers, employees that are happier. They're producing better products and better service. Another example is Ken Young from Young's Restaurant in Durham. I knew there had to be opportunities for me to reduce my energy costs, but I did not realize the significant savings that could be realized through efficiency. The entire audit process was a great education for me. In just the first couple months after the project, I am seeing cost savings that I would have never guessed could have been achieved, while greatly improving the comfort within the restaurant. When you're making investment decisions, you really need to have good, confident understanding that you're making the right decision. I really needed a resource to help me through this process. Working with retail merchants has truly been a great experience. The support I received has been way over the top. Some of the other results from this past year is we had 75 businesses throughout New Hampshire enroll into our program. Of that, 36 proceeded to the Phase 2 comprehensive audit. 10 of those businesses started the implementation phase, while 8 of those actually completed their projects. And of the implemented projects, the simple payback average is 4 to 7 years. So it definitely shows that this is an achievable and doable project for average businesses. Some of the success stories to give you an idea of the types of businesses and the types of buildings throughout New Hampshire. We had Dr. Bogas, a dentist in Concord. Door Mills, a retail store in Newfield, New Hampshire, Barron's Major Appliances in Laconia, Persian Rugs in Nashua, Rumney Animal Hospital in Rumney, and then Young's Restaurant in Durham. And if you go to our website at www.rmanheep.com, there on the right-hand side, there's actually a short interview with owner Ken Young. It's around 5 minutes long, but it really gives you a good idea of his impression of the program and how it helped him in his business. I'm going to look at some of the measures that were implemented at Ken Young's restaurant. And he had some exterior doors that, the frames were all decaying and the seals were bad, and those were replaced with insulated doors. In his dining room, there was 2 big, large picture windows that were literally feet away from an adjacent building. They were extremely drafty, and nobody really wanted to sit near them because it was extremely cold. So those were removed, and the entire wall was insulated, and it's created a much nicer environment for the patrons. Above his dining room, there was no insulation, and there was no air barrier between the drop ceiling in his dining room and the ridge vent at the top of the roof. So literally all the money he spent heating and cooling the air in that room would go up through the ceiling tiles and then out the ridge vent at the top of the roof. So it definitely explained why there were some comfort issues in that dining room. So 8 inches of spray foam were used to seal the entire attic roof plane, which greatly improved the comfort in the dining room and reduced its energy costs. You can see here through the infrared camera on the left-hand side the purple around the sprinkler head. This is cold air that is rushing around that, and it's just a small penetration around that sprinkler head, but this shows throughout the building that there are a lot of opportunities where air leakage can lead to increased energy costs. So some strategic air sealing was able to seal those up and reduce a lot of that air infiltration. Ductwork in the attic, it was old ductwork that really wasn't insulated very well. There also been damaged over the years from contractors. New ductwork was put in that was insulated to twice the level that was there before. Some occupancy sensors in low traffic areas such as the basement and the bathrooms, and an energy management system for the kitchen hoods, which allow the vent hoods above its stoves to be regulated, so they're not always either full blast or off. So as he was only cooking a little bit, they would ramp up and ramp down to meet the actual needs. Replace the condensers and compressors and fans for your refrigeration equipment to much more environmentally friendly refrigerant, as well as much more efficient units with ECM motors. And some of the other efforts that were part of the project were the refrigerator and freezer gaskets were replaced. Lighting was replaced with LEDs. The restaurant converted to natural gas, which is a cleaner burn-in fuel and less expensive than propane. And he switched electrical providers and applied these savings toward purchasing wind credits. Now, some of the results of the project is he's projected to save about $12,000 a year on his energy costs. He experienced a 20% reduction in his electrical usage in just the first couple months, and expects that to equate to about $4,000 a year. Anticipated savings about 50% or $8,000 a year from insulation and air sealing and conversion to natural gas. The projected payback period is about 4.5 years, and eliminated about 110,000 pounds of CO2 emissions annually. So it really shows, as we've experienced a lot of these projects having great success stories, that this process is very beneficial to businesses, and the way we structure it is to be as easy for the business so they can continue to manage their business day in and day out as they normally do, but they can reap the savings. So if there's any questions, feel free to contact me. My contact information is up on the screen. Also, please feel free to visit the website. There's a lot of great information on the website. Again, there's a great testimonial video from Ken Young on his experience through the program. And I'll turn it back over to Brian.
Great, thanks, Joe. And a couple of questions. One came in from an audience member, and I don't know if it was either you or somebody else maybe typed in a message while you were talking there, but just so you can reiterate this to people that may not have seen that, or to make sure everyone is clear, is the Giving Power program, Giving Power Back program available for nonprofit businesses as well, nonprofit organizations?
Yes, it is. Most commercial businesses in New Hampshire, nonprofits, would qualify for the program. There are a few exclusions to the program. Municipal buildings are not included in part of the program. Straight residential, like apartments, are not. But if you have, let's say, as many downtown locations have, you have, let's say, a pizza shop at the first level and a couple apartments above it, those buildings could be included as well. Religious centers are not part of the program either.
Okay, got it. And that being said, too, it may be worth emphasizing as well, and your examples kind of make that clear, that even though it's the Retail Merchants Association of New Hampshire, it does not apply only to pure retailers. Other smaller businesses of the types that you mentioned also can qualify for the program as well. So.
Definitely, we have offices and a wide variety of businesses enrolled.
And how would a business determine for themselves whether the program might be right for them? Are there any guidelines you would give to them to say, whether for them to be able to kind of determine, hey, this would be the right kind of program for me potentially?
Well, I guess the first thing is to evaluate what you're spending on your energy costs. And I guess if you're happy with what you're spending on your energy costs, then you don't need to do anything. But like most businesses out there, as energy prices are rising, everyone's feeling the pinch, and it's affecting their bottom line. So the majority of the businesses would benefit from at least going through the initial energy assessment. There is no risk for them at that point, and it's from that, the results of that, they determine, hey, this is something that's worth pursuing. Then they can move into the second phase. So I would encourage any business that would like to learn more about reducing their energy costs, feel free to contact RMA and contact myself, and we can walk them through the process. Great.
And so if there are any other questions, we'll be reserving a little time at the end if anything comes to mind for Joe or on our next program that's going to be presented by Tom Rooney. So we'll turn things over to Tom here as we get him ready to be able to share with you the Pay for Performance program in New Hampshire as well. So Tom, you should be able to get your, there you go. Take it away, Tom.
Okay, is my screen up?
I see it.
Okay, very good, thanks.
Anyone else is having any trouble seeing it, just drop a message in the chat, but you should be able to see Tom's presentation now.
Okay, great, thanks, Brian. And thanks, Joe, and I'll be following up on a lot of the things that Joe was talking about. I'll reiterate, so I'll try not to be redundant, but one thing I guess to start out on Pay for Performance is we sort of pick up where Joe's leaving off, going for larger businesses, municipal schools are eligible. Pretty much anybody in the state that is a large energy user is eligible, and I can go into the details of what that means in a few minutes. Before I get into the program, I just wanted to give a little background on TRC Energy Services, who I represent and who manages the Pay for Performance program. And what we do is manage energy efficiency programs for state agencies and utilities. So it's our client. We have a few programs running in the state of New Hampshire right now. We oversee the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grants for the Office of Energy and Planning, and also oversee the Greener Homes program for the New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority, which promotes energy efficient construction and retrofits of multifamily buildings. as well as programs in other states. And just again, a sort of high-level overview of how the program is run and sort of who's involved. We have the New Hampshire Public Utilities Commission as our client. They selected us using RGGI funding to promote energy efficiency in the large energy users in the state. So we are the program managers, TRC, and we work with, and I'll get into this in the presentation, but we work with a network of qualified program, what we refer to as program partners, which are energy efficiency companies and professionals throughout the state. And then ultimately they're working with the ultimate participants, many of which are hopefully on the phone, in building owners and developers and facility managers. So, what is the Pay for Performance program? Again, it's similar to some of the things that Joe was discussing, but what we're really looking to do is promote comprehensive energy efficiency work scopes in large commercial, industrial, and municipal buildings. The program is really there to push these projects over the edge. Folks that are considering doing something substantial to reduce energy costs, to reduce the carbon footprint. The incentives and the structure of the program is really to move that along. What we look for as a minimum is a 15% reduction in the total energy consumption of the facility. And so that would include whatever fuels are being used, electricity, natural gas, oil, whatever. Some people, think that's a significant reduction. Other folks think it's not far enough. But we look at that as a starting point. So we're looking to get at least that far, and many projects will go well beyond that and get up into the 20 and 30% reduction. Again, all the services are provided through the qualified program partners. Again, I'll show who they are, and they're on our website. But there's currently 23 partner firms throughout the state that folks can work with. And the incentives, and I'll get into this in more detail too, but they're based on performance. So the incentives are directly tied to the level of savings. So we're not equipment specific or based on the cost of the project. It's the more you save, the higher the incentives will go. And again, as I mentioned, it is for the larger energy users in the state. Again, sort of graphically, the more savings there are, the more incentives you're eligible for in the program. Maximum incentives for any one project are $340,000. And again, that's achieving a minimum of 15% of the facility's energy costs. So really, you can get incentives to buy down the cost of the construction, but then going forward, you're achieving 15% plus reduction in the energy costs that you're paying out every year. The steps to participation, the first step would be to select a program partner. Again, the partners are listed on our website. I'll show who they are a little later in the presentation. Completing what we call an energy reduction plan, and the green dollar sign there shows these are the points where the program pays incentives. So we do pay an incentive to reduce the cost of having that energy reduction plan developed. Building the project, the construction phase, will pay an incentive when the construction is complete. And then monitoring the energy consumption, which if you're looking at a whole facility program, that can be as simple as looking at your monthly energy costs. And then verifying the savings in the future, determining did the savings estimates that were developed by the program partner play out, and then paying incentives on those actual savings once we're able to verify that. So energy reduction plan is something I mentioned a minute ago. Very similar to an energy audit, but it includes a couple other things that we think, again, move folks forward. What we're really looking to do is focus on projects that go from audit to construction to M&V, or measurement verification, that confirms savings estimates. And so this energy reduction plan, it includes a comprehensive energy audit, what would be the equivalent of what's referred to in the industry as an ASHRAE Level 3. And then also a financing plan and a construction schedule. And these aren't really detailed. This may be simple tables in this energy reduction plan, but what it does in moving a project forward is it gets the building owner and the partner together on, there may be a lot of opportunities in a building, but there's only so much money to pay for building these opportunities. So that back and forth between the energy services professional that is coming up with the estimates and the building owner that's going to have to pay is an important step to work through, so that a project, when it's looking to move forward, these things have been addressed, and where the funding is coming from has been looked at. Similarly, a construction schedule, heating equipment isn't going to be changed out in the middle of the winter. You may be able to phase in, do lighting and some other retrofits early on, and then do some more substantial retrofits, say, at the end of a school year or when spring comes. And so thinking that through, we think, is an important component in making sure that a program will actually be built. As part of the audit, we do require that a building simulation be developed. And what this amounts to is really getting pretty good accuracy on these energy savings estimates that we're paying incentives on. We think that's important. We're overseeing the funding on behalf of the state, and we think in order to do that, we want to have fairly good assurance that when energy savings are estimated by our partners, that they are very close to what the building will actually see. And then again, these are all completed by the list of approved partners. The financial incentives are, again, given out or paid out in three components. The first being to reduce the cost of developing that energy reduction plan. Our incentive isn't necessarily going to cover all of the fees of the partner, but they're designed to cover, in the neighborhood of 75% of those fees. And the program doesn't set the fees, so the program partner and the building owner will determine what they're going to be paid, but they'll know going into that what our incentive will cover. And the second incentive would be paid upon completion of the installation of the energy efficient measures. And then the third incentive is paid upon verifying the actual savings up to a year post-construction. And one of the things that we think is different about pay for performance in some programs that that have been available through entities in New Hampshire through utilities is a very flexible approach. So really anything that saves energy is on the table. There's no, it's not leaning towards any specific fuel or any specific type of equipment. We're looking at generating energy savings. And so the incentives are paid for reductions in whatever fuels the building is consuming, electricity, natural gas, oil, propane. And then, typical projects are going to run, depending on the type of building. If you have a restaurant, you might have more cooking, ventilation, heat recovery. But some of the things that Joe was talking about in some of the buildings he's been involved in would certainly qualify here. In larger buildings, we tend to see a lot more savings related to controls. So building controls and lighting controls can oftentimes gather a lot of savings without a lot of cost. Adding insulation, air sealing, replacing heating and cooling systems, all of that are fairly typical to see and are all eligible. And so just a kind of a rundown on the incentives. The first incentive, again, to pay for the energy study, the energy reduction plan as we call it, is paid out based on the size of the facility. So smaller facilities under 100,000 square feet, that would be paid at 18 cents a square foot. And in dealing with energy efficiency professionals, we know that's in the area of not quite covering it 100%, but covering a good high percentage of the cost that they would charge to do the work necessary. And we think it's important to have the building owner have a stake in developing that energy plan, because it's important to have to not have everything covered. I think you as a building owner are more interested in the project if you are looking to get something back. That incentive is capped at $40,000. The second incentive that we talked about is can go up to, or is at 22 cents per kilowatt hour saved and $22 per MMBTU saved. And just to give an idea, if you had gas in your building, that would be $2.20 for each therm saved. And then the post-benchmarking is 8 cents a kilowatt hour and $8 per MMBTU. And the incentives 2 and 3 are capped at half of the project cost, which in these larger projects we generally don't see those incentives getting that high. Our incentives would generally cover 30 to 35% of the total project cost, which again is something that we see is enough to push a project forward or a building owner forward that's considering and sees a value in doing energy efficient retrofits. So now just a quick incentive example. So you've got a, say an office facility, 75,000 square feet. Your package of energy efficient retrofits is a $250,000 cost, and you're looking to reduce 23% of your current overall energy bill. So at 75,000 square feet, you get 18 cents a square foot. So the incentive to cover the development of the energy reduction plan would be $13,500. The savings estimates at 25,000 kilowatt hours and 2,300 MMBTUs would work out to $56,100. That's not what's in italics under there is showing the cap. So the cap for this incentive would be $100,000. So you're well under that. The third incentive on verifying actual savings, again on a per kilowatt hour or per MMBTU basis, would be an additional $20,000. And so for this project, from taking the project from audit through to verification, we'd be paying out an incentive of $90,000, which in this example is 36% of the total project cost. There is also an alternate approach, slightly reduced effort on the energy reduction plan. But the rest of the theory of the program theory is identical. You're looking at a comprehensive project. Here we're defining that as at least 2 distinct measures. There are minimum savings requirements, but no, there isn't the 15% of total energy bill requirement. So this approach is good for folks that can't get to the 15% or that are not well suited to the building modeling, which is a part of the energy reduction plan. The incentives are lower for this approach, but still, again, enough to generally move folks forward that are considering energy efficient retrofits. Here we're looking at 5 cents a square foot to develop the savings estimates, and then 16 cents a kilowatt hour and $16 per MMBTU to go for this slightly more simplified route. As I mentioned, we have currently have 23 program partners. They're listed here. They're listed on our website with contact information and a brief description of the expertise within each of these partners. And their qualifications, what's gotten them into the pay-for-performance network is showing the ability to develop a comprehensive energy reduction plan. So do the building modeling, develop good savings estimates, and put together a package that can actually be built, and then overseeing that construction. So they don't need to build it, but they might act as a project manager to, if you're estimating in an audit, if you're estimating energy savings based on doing a number of things in the building, it's really important that when that actually gets built, someone is there to sort of bridge the gap between the audit and the actual construction. And we think that's really where this program stands, is bridging that gap between having an energy audit done and actually having a building construction completed. And so each of these firms has shown their qualifications. This is a rolling network, so we are allowing more partners into the program throughout the year. If you're working with a particular firm that you think is qualified to do this type of work, they can become qualified in the program and you can work with them. So it's not a closed network. And in a nutshell, it's plan a good project, construct it, and then save, get incentives paid and save. And this also, these three items are the areas where we would be paying out incentives under the program as well. And Brian, that's it. I don't know if any questions had come in, but that's it. My contact information is here. Certainly if you have information. Our website includes the application and more detail on some of the things that I discussed.
Great. Thank you very much, Tom and Joe. And a couple of questions did come in. One is a general question, and I'll throw it out to our two main presenters here. One of the questions was just whether the copies of the presentation slides would be able to be made available to the attendees today. And I believe that the NHBSR, through the registration, has the emails of the attendees. Would the presenters be willing to provide your presentations through that vehicle to the interested attendees?
Yeah, that's no problem from my end. That's Tom talking.
Same here with Joe.
Okay, great. So we can make arrangements.
What we can do, Brian, is they will be posted to NHBSR's website, but if someone needs them sooner than that, if you can, you're going to get a follow-up email to this webinar, and if you can just email me back and let me know that you're interested in an early version, we can certainly get it sent off that way.
Okay, and will the, just for clarity, will the NHBSR posting be the audio and visual version, and the just the slide version, or just one or the other?
Right, it'll be the recorded webinar and the actual slideshow saved in a PDF format from both Joe and Tom, but there is a delay on that.
Okay, great. So both options will be available there. If you would like a copy of it sooner than that, feel free to let the NHBSR know, and they can have that emailed to you.
Right. And Joe and Tom's contact information will also be included in that follow-up email.
And then we had a question that talks about, are you aware of anybody that's regularly directing or leveraging a portion of any of the savings that they're getting, either the annual or monthly savings that they're getting from the energy efficiency programs, towards other investments that might have longer paybacks or are other types of sustainability activities like community service, environmental or employee engagement, wellness, recognition programs, or other staff support for sustainability positions and so forth. So kind of a lot there, but are you aware of people that are turning this money that they're saving back into other sustainability activities?
This is Joe. I know Ken Young, the example that I had used in my presentation, I think would be a great example of this. He's done significant across-the-board changes in his business to cover a lot of those, from sustainability to purchasing locally grown foods and a lot of that type of stuff. To some degree, I think that that's kind of hard to quantify exactly, because it improves the bottom line of the business, that then in turn allows the business to possibly consider some of these other measures and opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Joe, and I've done some work with Ken and can echo that as well. I know that with that local food commitment, they would in fact be committed to doing that in any case, but the local food sometimes and organic food options sometimes do have a higher cost to them, and some of the savings that they're getting from the energy efficiency program allows them to do those things. Again, they would likely do that anyway, but it is good for their business model to be able to turn that back into operating their business as well, and that's one of the ways that they do it. I agree that that's a good example. And in work that I do see other types of businesses that are doing all of those different things. Not too many specific examples come to mind, but there are regular reports of companies that are turning the savings back into programs that have longer-term payoffs, like using savings from some of the energy efficiency measures to then fund installations of other sustainability activities like solar hot water heating, solar PV. So now you've done some efficiency things, and then you do some things in terms of your energy generation. So that's one option. Tom, did you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the couple things we've seen is, within a project, just having, as you just suggested, certain measures pay back quickly, lighting, or some of the controls measures might pay back more quickly, and then they allow the building owner to consider, larger, more expensive, higher payback measures to then be funded off of the savings they've gotten from some of those other measures. And, it's a little bit different, but in a couple of the pay-for performance participants are universities where they're looking to do the retrofits and then, make that well known among the student body that these things are going on and that the savings are being made. And I don't know about anything specific being done with the money, but just raising the awareness of the students that these things are being done.
Okay. Great. And we have another question that's come in. Aren't there, I'm assuming the abbreviation here is general contractors, who are pre-qualified in the program? If so, who are these contractors? I think you had mentioned some of your partners there a little bit, Tom, but maybe if either of you can speak a little bit to how you go about determining and working with those partners. And then, Joe, your thoughts on them?
Yeah, actually, a few of the partners are general contractors, so they would be building projects as well as developing them. There is a good cross-section across the partners of folks that are more on engineering, sort of developing projects and writing bid specs, but not actually doing the construction. Other folks that do the construction. And how they're selected, I think that was part of the question, is in some cases they are teaming in their partnership application where we're looking for a firm that can show through experience that they can do a comprehensive audit, they can estimate the savings of changing things in a building, and then actually see that through to construction. And there's quite a few firms that are good at, say, energy auditing, but haven't ever gone beyond developing an audit report. And we're really looking for firms that can not only develop energy savings, but then see them through to construction. And that's done through kind of an RFQ process. And again, it's an open rolling application that folks are being added to this partner list as we go.
Mm-hmm. Joe, any additional thoughts or differences as to how you handle it in working with your partners to accomplish the projects with the RMANH?
Yes, definitely. Our program takes a different approach where we really separate the audit and the auditors from the contractors who are going to implement the work. We don't require the businesses to use any specific contractors to perform the work. That would be at the discretion of the individual business. The partners that perform the audits, we're always accepting new auditors. We do have set expectations and deliverables that we're looking for. So it's as simple as, we have a meeting with any other new auditors and review some of the work to ensure that we're able to provide a consistent deliverable to the businesses. And it's done in a unbiased way for the business owner.
Great. There's a question here also that asks, can funds be mixed with ARRA funding for either of these programs?
For the RMANH program, yes, they can.
And yes, the same would be true for pay-for-performance. They can.
And another question we have is there an end date for enrollment in the P4P program, or is that an ongoing program?
Right now, it's an ongoing program through June of 2013. So you've got a little over a year to apply. Certainly in 2012 would be advised.
And is that through 2013 as long as funding is available, or is it truly through that date, as far as you know?
Right, it is through that date. That's what we're under a contract through the middle of 2013, and then I guess the flip side would be with funding available, we may expand beyond that date. But yeah, we're funded through the middle of 2013 as of now.
Got it. And Joe, any timeline considerations for businesses in the RMANH program?
Yes, our program has the same end date as a P4P. Our program is really focused on enrolling the businesses into the program over the next 4 to 6 months to ensure that they have enough time to move from the initial energy assessment into the comprehensive audit and then into implementation before that end date. So it would be the June 30th, 2013, but we're really focused on enrolling businesses within the first 6 months of this year.
Yeah, you really, if you're an interested business, you really want to take advantage of that savings and get it for as long as you can by getting involved as soon as you can. All right, we have a couple of final comments to go through from Michelle here in a moment, but I just wanted to make sure there aren't any final questions from the audience. If you have any others, please drop them into the questions section here real quickly. Otherwise, we'll get ready to have some final additional comments from Michelle. Okay, great. I'm going to move back over to Michelle for some additional thoughts.
All right, great. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Tom and Joe, for your presentations. They were very informative, and I think the programs are very exciting, and I hope people will get involved. First of all, I would like to share an upcoming event offered by our partner in the webinar today, Clean Air, Cool Planet. The event is upcoming on March 31st at the Merrimack Valley High School in Pennacook, New Hampshire, and it's the Local Energy Solutions Conference. Let me get here. The conference will be of value for all sectors, and from tours to exhibitors to in-depth sessions, so there's really something for everyone. So I encourage you to attend. The Clean Air, Cool Planet has a limited number of free passes sponsored by New Hampshire's DRED, the Economic Development Department, for businesses who've never attended the conference. These free passes are first come, first served, so you can contact Julia Dundorf, whose contact information is listed here. So I'll just pause for a minute. You can contact her directly for those free passes. Then I just want to encourage all of you to consider joining us for next month's webinar, Sustainability in the Supply Chain, Reducing Risk and Pursuing Opportunities. The webinar will be led by Brian Sheehan, our moderator today, and will include the perspective of Mike Mills, president of Mills Industry, Inc. in Laconia, New Hampshire. So I encourage you all to attend. Thank you all for joining us today, and again, thank you to Joe and Tom. The webinar recording, as we discussed earlier, and the slides will be available on NHBSR's website later this month. So we encourage you to check back and share the recording with others in your organization or peers that you think may be interested. So with that, thank you very much for attending, and we'll hope to have you attend next month as well. Have a great day.